Y'all commented, y'all asked, I listened. Let's talk about Loki today. This one's gonna be hard. Let's get this out of the way now. Would I do Loki? No. No, let me shut up. Has Loki done bad things? Yes. Were all of the things his fault? No. Some of them he was driven to do these bad things? Yes. Does he deserve all the hate coming his way? Sometimes. He and Hades get along? Absolutely. Unless it comes down to cheating. We all know Hades is loyal to his one and only. Is he misunderstood? No. I feel like he does things for a reason. There's always a bigger plan. We got a very specific book today for this specific thing, right? I have not opened this book in a long time. It's a very illustrated book. So like, this is what his page looks like. I'm ready to get into this. I had to do a lot of research for this. One sentence in this book literally says he represents evil in the seductive and seemingly beautiful form in which it parades to the world. If that ain't the goddamn truth. Also, this man is not safe. This man has had 3 marriages. Loki literally committed a crime against Balder, which was his last crime, specifically because this man was more pure than him. To try and make the gods forget about this, he invited them all to dinner. Call it a last supper. And he told them every single bad thing that he'd done against everybody. He was truthful. The deceitful god was truthful. And they punished him accordingly. He knew that they would never let him back into Asgard again, so he decided to just flee to the mountains rather than make it a big scene. But not only did they find him, they made this man fast and chained him up with the entrails of his own son. Sigyn, you are a real one, because until the day of Ragnarok, you stood by his side, girl. As would many of us. Now, since reading this, every Saturday is Loki's day. Y'all waited and y'all asked. Here's the tale of Hel. Just because she's Loki's kid don't make her evil. Third born child of Loki and Ogress, Jotunheim, the giantess, and Gerboda. She was chosen specifically to rule and govern over the realm of Helheim. You hear about Fenrir and Nidhogg and Garm. You hear about her, and she's depicted as half decaying and half beautiful. Was she evil? No. Did she make Helheim an evil place? No. She did exactly what she was taught to, which is if a soldier falls in battle, he goes to Valhalla. If he dies of sickness or old age, he does not. A lot of people depict this child as evil specifically because she is the queen of Helheim. That is not the case. She may not have been human. She may not have been monster. She was part of both. She had a conscience. Did y'all know that the name Hel has 2 different meanings? One in Old Norse, and one meaning in German. This name is referring to the underworld because it's an unseen realm that's only accessible once you're dead. But in German, it means to harm or to kill. Basically talk about Hel's association with the end of life and being the keeper of it. You know who specifically put her in Helheim? I'll tell you. Odin did it. He initially wanted to bring them all up to Asgard so he could keep an eye on them. But he decided, let's just split them apart in the 3 different places of the world. One in the sea, one in the cages of Asgard, and one deep in the underworld so they could never see each other again. And with the underworld came the powers to rule over it. The death of Balder. When Balder died, his mother wept tears of gold for him. And Hel felt some type of way. She said, I will release him, but everybody from each of the 9 realms need to cry for him or he will stay in the underworld forever. This included the dead people. The message was spread across the kingdom and everybody agreed that they would cry for him. All besides one who was Thok, or Loki in disguise. He did not cry, so it turns out Balder is going to stay dead after all. Oh well. Can't see a lot of people of the underworld making deals. She did. Proves she has a conscience. But whatever, it's fine. If you have made it all the way to the end of the video, you get a cookie. And if you haven't made it all the way to the end of the video, you don't get anything. Next, here we are now, talking about a vengeful yet fair goddess. Technically, she's only a goddess by marriage, but that's neither here nor there. She's still the goddess of winter. I don't give a damn. Get ready. Here is the tale of Skadi. Y'all remember when I said every god has always done something bad besides one? That still technically applies. So here's basically an overlay. Skadi was a giantess. Her name comes from Old Norse meaning harm, or Old English meaning shadow, whichever one you go with. She lives in the highest mountains where the snow never melts. Her arrow, her bow, her skis are the biggest things that you always see her depicted with. After her father was killed by the gods, she marched her happy-go-lucky ass up to Asgard and demanded justice. But to them, it was perceived as injustice. To them, instead of justice, they were like, how about you just marry one of us and we forget about this whole thing? Therefore, she married the god Njord. This marriage didn't last long. Njord hated the cold. Skadi hated the chaos and parties of his world. They couldn't settle, so they got divorced. End of story. Why did she choose this guy if she didn't like him? Because the Aesir gods didn't see her as harmful. They saw what she did coming up to Asgard's gates and demanding vengeance and justice. Brave. Courage, you could say. So they were like, maybe you can marry one of us, but she had to do so by only looking at their feet. So when she had finally decided, she was like, oh, this is going to be Balder, the person who had thoughts for so long. Nope, it was somebody else. So she ended up getting married to this person, and then their personalities just ended up clashing because they both hated each other's way of living. Instead, she got married to a sea god named Njord. Though it wasn't premeditated, Loki also had a hand in Skadi's father's death. Which god actually killed her dad, Alex? That we don't know. They jumped his ass. Here's the backstory on that. Thiazi, Skadi's father, along with Loki, went and kidnapped Idun. Idun is the goddess of youth, regeneration, and immortality. She specifically had these golden apples that they both wanted to get their hands on. Helps them stay young. So Thiazi, along with Loki, went and kidnapped her for that said reason. Aesir gods fought back to get Idun back, killed Thiazi, and imprisoned Loki. Skadi went up there seeking justice, and so they were patient with her, and they were like, okay, what you did is very brave. Come on up here. How about we offer you this instead? And that's how the whole debacle started. Loki, you were not off the hook either because she came after you, didn't she? She found out that Loki was still in prison. She was like, let me just bound a venomous snake above your head and let it just drip venom down. Cruel torture. But it wasn't just for this one thing. Not only was it for the death of her father, but it was also for the death of Balder. If you don't know about his involvement in the death of Balder, I made a Loki video. Go watch that one after you watch this one. She is a vengeful goddess, but she is fair. Now you know, the tale of Skadi. Yes, it's time. He's here, the one you've waited for, the one you've yearned for. There's a reason he called the god of fertility. Today, let's talk about Freyr. So be 100% honest, would you do it? No, I would not. Let's just talk about it. His history was actually not what I thought it would be, I'm not gonna lie. How much did you actually know about Freyr before you made this video, Alex? Absolutely nothing, besides the fact that he was in a video game, he's Freya's brother, and that he was the god of fertility, and a lot of women get wet for this man for no particular reason, and a lot of people want to, you know what, let me shut up. Enough talk. We're procrastinating at this point. So in the book that I read, they don't even call this man Freyr, they just call this man Frey, the god of fairyland. I could have put two and two together and guessed that he was born in Vanaheim, considering that's where we found him in the first place. So apparently it's a customary thing where when you're a child and you get your first tooth, you get some type of valuable gift. So what Freyr was given was the land of the fairies. In this case, meaning Alfheim, the land of the light elves. After he was given this land, they obeyed his every order, no matter what it was or who it was with. He also received a lot of fighting skills and a golden sword. The dwarves of Svartalfheim loved this man to the point where they gifted him a golden bristled boar so that way he could ride it wherever he wanted to go. Oh my god, Alex, he's not seeming like such a bad guy. He wasn't. Until Freya married Odin. That is when Freya's brother became a brother from another mother. Everything changed. When I tell you this man abandoned his whole realm after they got married, shit hit the fan. For no fucking reason. Why did he abandon his realm? You say, I'll tell you. This man Odin preached about violence upon his enemies, and Freyr was the opposite. He was tortured by what Odin was preaching because he was basically the god of peace. So when Freya decided to marry Odin, he felt like she had betrayed him, which technically she did. So he completely abandoned his realm, and then the light elves and the dark elves started fighting each other, which caused a century-long war because he was not there to keep the peace. But why does it matter? Because he was their leader. He was their lord. They did what he told them. If you leave a place without a leader, it's going to go into chaos. And that's exactly what it did. It went down that dark path and then led to centuries and centuries of war, and it basically led to that destruction of that realm. Yes, he did. It was called the War of the Light. But he only came back because he wanted to unite all the elven races against Asgard. Then as soon as everybody decided to get together, call it shoes, light elves, dark elves, Freyr, all of them, Asgardians then went and destroyed the elves' tower. Soon enough, Ragnarok comes around and Freyr is prophesied to die by Surtr's hand. If you don't know who Surtr is, he is a fire giant. It was basically a whole cataclysmic event that happened, and that was the last time Freyr saw her brother. But that did not stop this man from falling in love with somebody. Before Freyr even wanted to venture up to Asgard and take Odin's throne for himself, he looked to the frozen north and he saw the most beautiful girl he could ever imagine. Her name was Gerda. According to him, he was the personification of the northern lights, and he wanted this woman to be by his side. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of stuff happened between that and that, so if you want to know that story, go ahead and go and look her up yourself. I'm not doing it here in this video. It's already too long. You are a man, woman, animal that want to get your back burnt out by Loki. Stay, because this is the video about his kid. Yeah, I got your ass. You better stay here. Today, you have waited. You have waited. I am so sorry. We are talking about Jormungandr. The world serpent, the Midgard snake, Loki's child, Loki's monster. You know what? Let's just get into it. I'm procrastinating. You might be wondering, why is Jormungandr a snake? He was born that way. He was a tiny little thing when he was born, but he got to that point. But we'll get there. Just wait. Jormungandr was the child of Loki and the giantess Angrboda. His brother was Fenrir, and his sister was Hel. Now, Loki was already married before, but he married somebody else and he had kids with her. It don't really matter to him. The man was getting around. What can I say? Anyway, after everything Loki had already done before his kids were even born, Odin wanted to keep an eye on the kids, okay? And I mentioned this in my last video on Hel. If you haven't watched that one, go watch it. So he decided, we're going to bring all of them up to Asgard so I can keep a close eye on them. But I don't want them all together, and I'm going to make a decision when I see them in person. So therefore, he sent one to Helheim, the realm of the underworld, the sister. One to be forever locked in the cage in Asgard, Fenrir. And one deep in the ocean so he could never be seen again. That was Jormungandr. Keep in mind, he was still a baby when he got put in the water. Therefore, he grew in the water. And this serpent grew so big, he was able to encompass all of the 9 realms and bite his tail. And legend says when he unbites his tail, Ragnarok will begin. Well, he stayed there for 6 winters and he grew and grew and grew. And let's just say his anger just kept going. Let's just say this serpent got a little bit too uncomfortable staying there for so damn long. So he decided to resurface himself and unbite his tail. Since he got uncomfortable with the icy waters of the Midgardian Sea, he finally decided to resurface. Therefore, with his big back ass, it caused earthquakes all across the Norse cosmos, the 9 realms, whatever the hell you want to call it. So therefore, the earthquakes was enough for Fenrir to be able to get out of the Asgardian prison and cause havoc, and for his father Loki to escape prison as well. But there was some stuff that happened before that. Let's just start with the easiest one, the beef with Thor. Why did they have beef? When Jormungandr came to Asgard and he got locked up, Thor was trying to warn all these people, hey, don't go too close to him because he spat venom at me. And that was what started the trouble. Jormungandr didn't like how him and his siblings were being treated. So therefore, when any of the Vanir were trying to get near him or any of the Aesirs, he didn't like their ass. Thor just happened to be the unlucky god that just got venom sprayed at him. He lucky he missed. Bitch. This started a longing hate train between Jormungandr and Thor. As this train went on, legend says when Ragnarok comes, him and Thor are going to be in a huge battle of which both will die. Jormungandr died first. Thor fought harder than he ever had before, but that's a story for another day. But Thor lost too. He had spat so much venom at him, Thor only took 9 steps before he collapsed and died. Let's just say Jormungandr got tired of how his siblings and himself were being treated. Does that count as a crime? To the Aesir gods, yes. To us, no. Who's next? Place your bets. Should we do the last child or should we do somebody else? Who's next? Thor? No. I don't know. Do you want your back blown out by the Norse god Loki? Well, stay and watch this video because we're talking about the person whose back he did blow out. We're on to his 3rd kid, Fenrir. Because apparently I never did it and I'm very upset at myself. I've already done Jormungandr and I've already done Hel, so you haven't seen those videos, go and watch those. Y'all already know that Loki was getting around town. But we stand with this one baby mama until we done with her. Fenrir, a monstrous wolf, was born to Loki and the giantess Angrboda. Odin wanted to watch over every single one of Loki's kids because he did not trust that motherfucker. So Fenrir just happened to be the one that he kept there with him. Jormungandr, he put his ass in the sea, and Hel, he cast all the way down to Helheim, where she now rules as its queen. Not only did Odin not trust him or his kids, he kept them all bound in one way or another. Hel could never return to Midgard or anywhere else. Jormungandr had to stay in the ocean for as long as he lived. And Fenrir? Yeah, he tied him up good. He bound this wolf with a bunch of occult items like the breath of a fish, the beard of a woman, the sound of a cat's footsteps, and a bunch of other shit, so he could never get out. I am Newton, tongue of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. I need to calm down. Basically, the gods tricked Fenrir into being chained to this rock, and as a show of good faith, Tyr decides to put his hand in Fenrir's mouth. But once Fenrir was like, oh, I've been bamboozled, he bit off this man's hand. When this chain was put on him, he had no hesitation in retaliating and bit off the hand of the god Tyr. As with anybody else when they figured out that they got fucking speckled dwarfed. So therefore, if he wasn't portrayed as a villain, he was definitely portrayed as a villain in that moment. He was then gagged with a sword, and he was never supposed to become unchained until Ragnarok, Doomsday, came around. According to some people, when Ragnarok does come, Fenrir was supposed to get free and fight against Odin himself and swallow him whole, to where then Odin's son Vidar will then have revenge against Fenrir and stab him in the heart. But how did he get out of his chain, Alex? Well, I'll tell you. You see, Fenrir has a brother, and a big back brother at that, a brother that has been in the sea since birth. This boy got tired of being in the ocean and decided, I might want to come up for some air. But his big back ass was so large that him just coming out of the sea caused all the 9 realms to have an earthquake and shake and everything like that, to where Fenrir's chains came undone. Just because this wolf is the son of Loki and the giantess Angrboda, does that make him a bad seed? I wouldn't say so. Even though he grew at a very, very spectacular rate, that doesn't mean that he can be portrayed as a monster. But you portrayed him as a monster because you decided, as a test of faith, to try and chain this man up twice, and you were unsuccessful. And then on the 3rd attempt, you were like, it's just a game, a test of strength. And the test of strength caused Tyr to lose his arm. Good job. She said, I have nice golden hair and I have a mole underneath my left ass cheek. Witch! So y'all voted in my last video about this person. So if you were planning on having tonight, you might need to pray to this goddess because she can help you out. Today, we are going to be talking about... Yes. Today, we are going to be talking about Freya. Let's get it going. This goddess is not just the goddess of love. She's the goddess of love, sex, witchcraft, death, beauty, fertility, and basically everything under the goddamn sun. She's basically the Daenerys Targaryen with all them goddamn names. She oversees battlefields and watches as people get their hearts taken out. And then she also watches as you take out your hand because you're having a battle in the bedroom. If you didn't already know this, she's married to the god Odin. Was it really her choice? I mean, no. The only reason she decided to marry Odin was to stop the fighting between the Vanir and the Aesirs. I know some of you may be wondering, did she like Loki? Let's just say her and Loki's relationship was very complicated. Like, she hated that he was full of trickery and malice, but then she later tried to ally with him against Odin and gave him like a falcon cloak to go against Thor. Like, I don't know what the hell was going on there. It's a very complicated relationship. All that this woman wanted was peace, and then it just ended up causing a little bit more turmoil than she let on. Now, did this woman commit any crimes? I guess you can say yes, depending on if you're a man or a woman. She challenged Odin many times because not only did she want to oversee people doing the giggity, she also wanted to oversee the fertility part of it. While Odin is over here doing his manly things, she's over here basically trying to do what he does and try and be a man, but that's not what it was. We call this challenging gender roles. I call it mind your damn business. Now, there was a time in her life where she was branded as a brazen hussy. I don't even know what the hell that's about. It's just what I read. And apparently there were 4 different types of things that she was doing specifically just because this girl wanted a piece of jewelry. A necklace, to be exact. This woman was labeled as a witch because she was practicing something called seer magic. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm probably going to get butchered. But just because she practiced it, any woman that decided to follow her was branded as a witch as well. Not only did she watch over the battlefield, she also participated in it as well as queen of the Valkyries. If you don't know what a Valkyrie is, I'll make a separate video depending on if y'all want to see that. If you want to see that, put this emoji. But in continuance, a fiercely strong and loyal woman to her core, unless you got on her goddamn nerves. And the one person that was able to get on her nerves and get away scot-free without any punishment was her brother, Freyr. And little did I know, Freya and Freyr aren't even real names. They basically just mean Lord and Lady. And I didn't know that until right now. Apparently, Odin and Freya had 2 daughters. That's it. I don't know anything else about them. I couldn't find nothing. The only way you would see Loki and Freya together is if you mentioned Friday the 13th. And let me explain that just a little bit. Freya literally translates to Friday. And then everybody's like, so what is the significance with Friday the 13th? Friday is basically just Freya's day. And then 13 is basically signifying the little dinner that it had leading to Baldur's death. And that's how I'm just going to end this video because I'm tired now. Who's next? You have any questions? Ask somebody else. Now, did she commit any crimes? None that I could find. Besides one that was like Loki cut off her hair, not just because he was feeling mischievous, but because she was doing the do with Loki and then she broke his heart. And then that was what caused him to cut off his hair. But that hasn't been proven or anything like that, but we're not going to go there. So I already know nobody asked for this video, but we're going to do it anyway because I was low-key kind of curious. So we read all about Odin's wife and we read about Loki's wife. Now let's talk about Thor's wife. Ignore my puppy in the background. He just wants some attention. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about Sif, Miss Wicked Weave herself. She was the original Wicked Weave before Bayonetta was even born. She may not have been his first baby mama, but she was definitely one of them. Now, not much is known about Sif's parentage. What I found out is that she is a giantess and she was one of the... this word. I'm not even going to attempt that. She was most noted to be Thor's wife and the mother of Thrud and Thor's stepson, Ul. Imagine naming your child that. Come here. Anyway, this woman had the most beautiful, most luxurious, most golden hair in all of the 9 realms. Her hair went from her head to her feet. This woman is not just known for her head of hair. I hope you know this. This woman has Titan strength, Asgardian woman strength. She is superhuman. She got super speed. She might even be stronger than Thor himself and the Valkyries put together. And it was the most golden hair you have ever seen in your life. Now, you may be wondering, what other significance does she have besides this wicked weave? I know that she's a part of the reason why Thor even has Mjolnir, right? Let me tell you the story. Loki was feeling a little bit mischievous and he knew how much the goddess of the grain and the earth and fertility and whatever loved her hair. Much to Thor's dismay of loving his wife's hair as well, he found her bald one morning. He knew exactly who did it and he accused Loki. Loki tried to run like the little punk he is and Thor caught up to him and nearly strangled this man to death. But Odin stopped him and he was like, Loki, you better get your shit under control, otherwise you might just kick the bucket. So Loki, not wanting Odin to be on his ass, went down to Svartalfheim and was like, hey, I need you to craft something for me and I need you to do it now. So the dwarves of Svartalfheim crafted this golden thread, wicked weave, and said whoever puts it on, it will immediately grow from their head as if it were their own. So he went up there, even though he lied to them and said it was for Odin and Freya, it was for Thor and his wife. Brock and Sindri were sitting on the sidelines watching Ivaldi's son at work, and they were like, oh my god, he made that? That's nice. It's like, no, he might be the best craftsman I've ever met. So Brock and Sindri wanted to go head to head, and he was like, no, we can make something better. So they ended up making the Draupnir spear, they ended up making the ring, they ended up making a bunch of other things. And so when Thor came down to see what the progress was, he was like, oh yeah, I was just coming to see you. And he was like, no. You got him to craft that for you? Can you craft this for me? And thus Mjolnir was created. All this because Loki was feeling mischievous and cut Thor's wife's hair off her head while she was asleep. That's fucking insane. Does that stop her from doing her duties as a wife? No. She also has kids, whatever. But she was really good at fighting too. Don't get it twisted. She didn't just become Thor's wife just because she was one of this. She became it because she was also a fierce and loyal warrior. Anyway, that's the story of Sif. You know, fighting her was optional, right? Like, you didn't have to do it. Oh no, I had to do it. You know why? Because if it has a health bar, it can die. I was not ready to post this video because I was like, who actually beat my ass? And the question didn't match the answer because the answer was all of them. So y'all want to know which of these Valkyries was the hardest? I'm procrastinating. Let's just talk about it. Today we are going to be talking about the Valkyries. Just based off of God of War rules and how they were born. Now, I think I got my research correct when it was like, these are warriors of fate, demons of death, and shield maidens. They are all of the above. When I tell you they was beating my ass, they were beating me the fuck up like I owed them money. Like, bro, there's 10 of y'all. I fought 8 of y'all. And then I fought your queen. And then I fought the next queen in the next game. Like, do you realize how fast this woman got replaced? It had only been like a couple months. Maybe a couple years, but I'm getting off track. If you don't know who the Valkyries are, they're basically shield maidens that any soldier that falls in battle, they will be brought up to Valhalla, and the Valkyries have to choose if you're going to stay there or if you're going to be sent down to hell. These women were strong, fierce, brutal warriors with wings on their back that sometimes covered their face, and they are the strongest women in the universe. I say the universe because they ain't just Midgard, it's video games too. These women were fiercely loyal to the cause. They were also loyal to Odin. Why were they loyal to Odin? Because there is a theory where these women were ones that died in battlefield, and then he brought them back specifically because he thought they were the strongest. And then he was like, I'm going to make you guys something, and you're going to get to prove your worth for the rest of your life. And then the Valkyries were born. Or so I thought. So I just heard. I don't know. Basically, if you were a woman on the battlefield that died with a sword in your hand, Odin would deem you worthy and you would become a Valkyrie. Or Freya can deem you worthy as well. Considering that Freya herself was at one point the queen of the Valkyries, because her herself was also a fierce warrior. Some of y'all may be wondering, can a Valkyrie die or can a Valkyrie be killed? According to the video game, it'll take you at least 9 tries. But according to real life, if you are sentenced or punished by Odin, very much so, yeah, they can go. Didn't happen very often, but it can happen. Let's just talk about some of them. Let's just start with one of the ones that I thought was the most easiest. Let's talk about Air. She may have been the goddess of healing and protection and all of that, but when I tell you she was beating my ass, it's like she was not even made to be treating wounds, but was made to be the one that was making them. I did not die to this Valkyrie. Thanks the gods. Now, Gunnar. Her name literally means battle. Like, Kara. I thought that this one was very unique. Apparently, Kara was the reincarnation of the Valkyrie Sigrun when she was immortal. And yet, I fought Sigrun as the queen of the Valkyries, but I also fought Kara. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but just know that they both beat my ass. Sigrun most of all. Not Kara. But that's okay. Sigrun. It's okay. Now, the one that I didn't want to talk about at all, I started fighting this woman on December 31st. I did not finish fighting this woman until March 18th. Her name literally says, nah. Nah, fam. That should have been my indicator to walk away. But I didn't. You know why? Because if it has a health bar, it can die. If it has a health bar, it can bleed. If it can bleed, it can die. And I figured that out after like the 52nd time. I don't care if it's for Valhalla. I don't care if it's for Odin. I don't care that you have every single other Valkyrie's power at your disposal underneath your belt. I'm about to beat the living, ever-living daylights out of you. And it did not help that I had to fight this woman while there was an active volcano going on around me. I'm done. Sorry about this. The video was delayed. Anyway, let's start. Women that can see the past, present, and the future. Indoor plumbing. It's gonna be big, bitch. Is that why you took my damn toilet handle? You know what? We're going to a different change of scenery. So y'all have waited, so we're just going to get to talking about it today. Today we are going to be talking about the Norns. We ain't going to be talking about one in general. Everybody's getting the smoke. So, who exactly are these women? Okay, there used to be many. Now there's only a few. They were there to warn the gods not to create the misdeeds of the past, to focus on the things happening in the present and make sure that everything goes well, and to warn them about any evil deeds that might happen in the future. Let's just say they didn't spring up until after the Golden Age ended, and you would mostly find them at the base of the Yggdrasil tree, just minding their damn business. Now, were they truly evil to anybody? No. But did they cause stuff to happen that, let's just say they are also known as the Weavers, aka the Weavers of Fate. From the time that your baby is born into this world, they are there to make sure that your baby is going to either live a long, peaceful, happy life or a very short, tormented one. And they don't care. And no amount of, I'll give you this, please this, will change their minds. They say once it is written, it can't be unwritten. Once that thread is cut, you're done. There used to be a lot of them, probably over 100. Some of them were born from elves. Some of them were born from dwarves. Most of them now have all disappeared. Now there's only the 3 women. Their names were Ud, Verandi, and Skuld. They were the legitimately personifications of the past, present, and the future. Oh my god, all they did was tell people their futures? Oh my god, that's so stupid. No. They were also tasked with watering the ancient Yggdrasil tree, making sure that it would be forever green, never wilt, and never die. As well as weaving the fate of every single person that lived in every single one of the 9 realms, including the gods. Yes, the gods could not escape their fate either. Some people even said that they were the only ones to be able to keep watch over the golden apples, aka the fruit of life, and the only person that was allowed to pick them was Idun, which was the only person that was allowed to keep her youthness. Some of the other gods also got these apples too, but they got it from Idun. They didn't get it from them. It is said that sometimes that they would dress like normal people to go and talk to the people of the mortal realm and tell them what their future was. So, and anybody had been seeing any psychics, any fortune tellers lately, believe them. And I know I probably won't be saying these names right, but as the personification of time, they all had to look the part. So, Urd was literally an old decrepit lady, and then Verandi was a young little thang. I'm gonna say thang, because I gotta be very careful with this video. And then Skuld at the end, she was the one that mostly you barely even saw her face. Now, while the Norns were visited very daily by each of every one of the gods, Odin was the one that was visited the most and given advice from them and seeking their counsel and other stuff like that, but that did not change his fate when Ragnarok came. Same with Thor, Freya, Freyr. Kratos even went to go see him in the game, but that didn't really change the fate happening either. But then it did change because he was like, I'm gonna write my own story. Nobody can control me because I'm him. You basically made your fate happen, bro. Like, they told you it was gonna happen, and you just made it happen. And then there's a specific line of dialogue that you don't really get unless you go back there. You try to go back and visit the Norns again, and Mimir literally tells you, yeah, I think the Norns are done with us, brother. We're not going back in there. They don't want to talk to us no more. And they literally close off the entrance to you. So, all in all, did the Norns do anything bad? No, they are not depicted as to actually have gotten involved with any crime. They are the writers of the crimes, and they do not take any responsibility for that. They basically plead the fifth every single time. Let's just say your life is going to shit, and you basically have no other thing but to go and consult the Norns, and they basically cut your thread before you end up on their doorstep. They say, yeah, nah, fam, we don't want to talk to you. You was gonna, anyway, ain't nothing else to talk about. That would really be the only crime that they've committed. They can make you have a very treacherous life, or they can make you have a very good life. It really depends on how they want to weave your fate. But then by the time it reaches Skuld, she's just going to rip up every one of the progress anyway, and they just going to have to start again. So it don't really matter. We're going to go with that. Odin cheated on his wife, and then he got somebody pregnant. This somebody just happened to be a giantess, and then she gave birth to a guy, and then this guy turned out to be Odin's son named Tyr. She said, run that child support. He said no. It became a whole thing. I don't want to fight nobody that already knew who I was before I even made it to the place that I didn't even know existed in the first place. He said, I know exactly who you are. Mr. God of War. I recognize you. How? I just got here like 10 years ago. How do you we've never met. So y'all have waited, and today we are going to be talking about the Norse god Tyr, god of war, god of these hands. Yet he doesn't like throwing them. He gets no joy out of bringing war and chaos to anybody, and yet that's literally your title. I understand you have Odin as a father, but it's like you didn't get manipulated by him at all, and I'm proud of you for that. However, how? Let's just start off. In the beginning, there were a bunch of these guys. Yeah, we're not going to go back that far. Now, there's two different ways that this can go. Either Odin was with Frigga, and he had a son named Tyr, or Odin cheated on his wife. That's going to be the story that we're going to go with. Odin cheated on his wife with a giantess. Giantess gave birth to somebody. This somebody just happened to be a little boy named Tyr. And then she said, run that child support. Odin said no. And then it became a whole big thing. The way that people worshipped Tyr was under the emblem of a sword. So I guess you can say he was also the god of courage too. Now, exactly not much is known about Tyr's story. However, there is a specific one that involved him and Fenrir. The only reason why he did it was because he was the only boldest of the gods to actually make a deal with Loki's son. Like Loki's son, he was just like, y'all really gonna try to chain me up to this tree? Yeah, y'all really gonna get these off of me. And so he was like, okay, the only way that we can do this is by a show of good faith. So I'm gonna put my arm in his mouth while you guys chain him up, and then we're gonna go from there. When Fenrir found out he got tricked, he bit Tyr's arm off. He then became known as the One-Armed Man. However, this was not the arm that he held his sword in, so it really didn't matter either way on the battlefield. It didn't stop people from worshiping him either. And when it came to worship, a lot of people were carving stuff into animals, carving stuff into humans, and it was a lot of stuff. But oh my God, Alex, why were they trying to chain Fenrir up in the first place? Go back and watch that video. If you ain't seen it, go back and watch that video. Y'all fake fans, I swear. Y'all some fake fans. I'm just kidding. Let's just get this out right out the gate. Did Tyr commit any crimes? No. However, he did punish those that broke their oaths and committed crimes as well. Let's just say that's where the bloody part came in. He took no happiness from this. He just did it because he was a man of honor. While Tyr's life story isn't very much known, and most of the story is just known of him being, that guy, that didn't stop him from beating my ass in God of War. When I read about him losing his arm to Fenrir, and then I played God of War, and then I played God of War Ragnarok, and then I played God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, tell me why this man still had two hands. Is it because he was locked up? Is it because Odin locked his ass up in Niflheim? And that's why when Ragnarok came, like Fenrir didn't bite his hand off? Like, I don't understand why the hell this man was still beating the fuck out of me and he's only supposed to have one arm. Anyway, that's the story of Tyr. That's really all I have to say. There wasn't much to learn about this man besides the myths that he was that guy. He was that guy anyway. So tell me how he's very different from what I beat in the video game.
Well, all the gods actually like him. He's actually really nice and really benevolent, and people actually praised him.
Versus the motherfucker that I put through the mountains, what you saying? So, y'all have waited. But today, we're going to talk about it. Let's talk about the Norse god, Baldur. I'm having a little bit of a dilemma and conflict with this one because he beat my ass in God of War. Turns out he's actually very different. So, Baldur was born on Asgard to the Aesir god Odin and the goddess Frigg. When I tell y'all that Freya was trying to be a good mama, but she was a little bit overprotective. Now, some of y'all have already seen my video about Loki, about how Baldur died. Yeah, it was something. But in this video, we're going to talk about his upbringing and anything that happened to maybe cause what happened to him. Spoiler alert, I don't think he did shit. So, what exactly did the games get correct? Well, Baldur was born as the god of light with wisdom in his veins and the most immense beauty, and he was immune to harm. Let me tell you. His mother, Frigg, made all things underneath the sun, fire, water, metal, swear an oath to never harm him. You see what I mean by overprotective? But I wouldn't say it was a little bit overprotective. I would say it's a little bit of overkill. But why did she do it?
It's because when he was a child, Balder was having all these nightmares about impending doom and impending danger about to come onto him. So therefore, Frigg went all around the world, making non-living things and living things swear to never harm him, because she needed his protection, because he was harmless to other people. So therefore, no harm should ever come to him, right? Versus the guys that were just throwing shit at him just because they knew that he was immune to harm. Like, what the wrong. Loki found out about this loophole and he tricked somebody in order to throw mistletoe at his ass and he got. But who was it, you say? Well, Loki kind of sort of might have had a little hand in it by tricking Balder's blind brother, Hoder, to shoot an arrow with mistletoe directly at his brother. Man, that man is so savage. Man, he's so gangster. Not only did this arrow hurt him, no, it killed him on contact. So that kind of started the record of Ragnarok. The anime. No, this started the events of Ragnarok. You know why? Because Frigg would not stop fucking crying because she just lost her son. So they made a deal. So they figured out who it was, and they figured out that it was Loki's Chaz. So they had to do something in order to get back at him. Enter Loki's daughter, the goddess of Helheim itself, where Balder was sent when he died. Frigg made a deal with Hel, Loki's daughter, the only good child, and said, "Can you please give me back my son?" So Hel said, 100%. If you can get every single person in all of the 9 realms to cry for him and beg for him to come back to life, I will restore your son. She said, okay. And she contacted every single one of the other realms in order to do this, and everybody cried right on it because they loved Balder. Everyone except one. This woman, who was just Loki in disguise, and he refused to cry. So therefore Hel said, "You're missing a person." And she kept Balder there. And Loki got locked up. And when they found out that Loki got locked up, let's just say his other kids weren't happy. Hence, Ragnarok, and then everything else happened. But before all of that, did y'all know that this man got married? Did y'all know that this man had a son? Let me know if you want to see that. I'll let you know right now. His son is named after Justice. Cross-dressed at the wedding was peak and not enough people talk about it. I didn't even know this was a thing, but we're going to talk about it. So I did my research and yeah, I definitely delivered. So let's talk about it. I ain't even talked about Thor on this channel, but we're about to talk about it. We all know who Thor is. I'm gonna make a different video for his backstory, but apparently in this one, Mjolnir was stolen. So there was this giant named Thrym. He stole Mjolnir and demanded Freya's hand in marriage in order to get it back. When Freya refused, Thor came up with a plan with Loki's help to cross-dress as her. Why did y'all make me do this? So, I can't even do it with a straight face. Okay, so with Loki's help, Thor then cross-dressed as Freya to try and get Mjolnir back. Okay, but where was Loki? He was the bridesmaid. When I tell you this man Thor went all out, he had the necklace, the jewels, the dress, even the artificial boobies to sell this act. He made it all the way up to the goddamn wedding feast. And then when Thor's was he's kind of getting a little bit angsty, Loki chalked it up to, oh, it's because he's just long-lasting eyes. He's just a little bit hungry, that's all. And Thrym was like, oh, I know. Thor was just like, So after all was said and done, he gave Mjolnir back. The giant Thrym placed Mjolnir in Freya's lap. As soon as he had Mjolnir back, Thor reveals himself, kills Thrym and every other person at this goddamn party, and then reclaims his treasure. So why in the hell was this poem even made besides comedic humor? Because instead of using his brute strength, which is what Thor usually relies on, he used his wit. And with the help of Loki, he used his cleverness. Which not a lot of people know Thor for, but he used it to his advantage and it actually worked out in the end. Gotta say, was not a story that I was actually expecting to be true, but y'all sure delivered on this one, because what the fuck? Now Loki, I understand. Loki's done it many a time. That's why when he was like, with Loki's help, he was like, yeah, I've done it before. It's actually freely, it's actually, and I said, yeah, do it. I think he just wanted to be embarrassed. Like, he wanted Thor to be embarrassed because he's like, I've done it before. I promise it's fun. Because where in the hell did Thor get the artificial boobs from? So is there a reason why Freya didn't say yes? Of course. She refused to be married to a man that she actually found repulsive. This goddess was so infuriated with the proposal that her own necklace, the Brisingamen, shattered across the floor, proving how much, and she loved this necklace, proving how much anger she had in her system just by him talking. So Loki, being who he was, advised this plan because him himself has swapped genders on a daily basis. So Loki, who is gender swapped on a daily basis, was like, he'll get a bride, just not the one that he was expecting. Thor was not really too happy about it, but he did what he had to do in order to get his damn hammer back. And King Thrymr was just so madly and blinded by love that when he gave Mjolnir back, he didn't realize that Freya wasn't Freya until he actually got killed and all the other wedding guests. So that's fun. So, you want me to talk about this specific person knowing good and damn well that I can't hit him? Okay. This man automatically might as well just be playing the reins of Castamere every single time I open the door because he don't like me. This man was very serious when he was like, oh, you stealing and you just got here? Shameful. Sir was like the queen embodiment of, did you just hit me? You must be out of your mind. What are the consequences about talking about this person online? I get jumped. This man is so useful in so many ways. I just wish that he didn't annoy the hell out of me. He said, LAPD ass whipping. Who even is his mama? Do I even want to talk about his mama? You know what? We're just gonna do it and we're gonna have fun doing it. Hopefully I don't get no backlash. I know you up there listening. Let me tell you right now, I will beat your ass.